Ugh. Hey guys, Trisha and anyone else from the Naked Army who's being here. All my subscribers, hello, good day to you. Nathan Lyle here, and I haven't been doing as many of these Naked Truths and stuff because been kind of busy. My life's in a turbulent point right now, and I have honestly no fucking clue if everything's gonna turn out alright. But, we've got a long way to go before I really hit panic mode, but still, I don't want to have to go to panic mode if I don't want to. So I'm trying to get stuff sorted out in my personal life, which is why I'm not on the internet as often as I used to be, but still more often than I should be, if we're being completely honest. Anyways, but the reason I'm so willing to do this subject is just because music has always been just possibly the biggest influencing factor in my entire life. Music, like like a lot of people, they love movies, they love TV, but most of my favorite movies, I love them so much because they have this great song in them. A lot of my favorite TV shows, I might not never watch them in the first place if it wasn't for the fact that they had this great opening theme song. Honestly, I formed my life based on the music that I've listened to. Like, does anyone remember All For One back in the early 90s? They were a big thing. Like, the person that I am is very much revolves around, like, listening to some of their music. Like, I remember the first time I heard I Can Love You Like That. I never make a promise I don't intend to keep. So when I say forever, forever's what I mean. In all honesty, like, I heard that song and I just decided, like, when I grow up, I want to be the kind of guy who can sing this and it's 100% true. I want to be the type of person who can sing this with complete honesty and mean every single word of it. And I feel like for the most part I did a good job. Because I do not make promises unless I fully intend to keep them. When I say I promise, it means this is going to happen. Not, I'll try to do it if I'm able to. No, it means it's going to happen. When I say I promise, it means that I am going to keep it. Like, this is going to happen. Which is why I stopped making promises like 5 years ago. Because, but music has been such a huge factor in my life, and if I had to say, like, my favorite genres are like soul, especially like back in the 80s, like with James Ingram, Peabo Bryson, and I definitely love a lot of 90s stuff, like especially boy band stuff, like late 90s, early 2000s, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, Westlife, O-Town, everybody. Okay, not O-Town that much, I only really like that one song, but whatever. And there's a lot of so I love all music though. Like, pretty much the only thing I don't listen to regularly is any type of EDM, just because for me that's more like hype dance type music and stuff, and just in general I don't listen to that that genre. But like, I've heard a lot of songs from it and I don't hate it. Like, I've heard some like Steve Aoki and some Deadmau5, and they're good. It's just not something that, like, oh, I'll put it on my stereo and just blast it for 3 hours. It's just not my thing. And I definitely don't listen to any metal. Just like, I don't mind rock. Just rock in general, it's a good genre as a whole. But within the blanket of rock, you have the really heavy stuff, the really like screamo things, like the heavy metal, death metal, blood metal, all the metals. I just don't do that. Like, if I can't understand a fucking word you're saying, there's really no reason for me to listen to this song. But that's just me personally, because for me, music, like, I love the story. Like, I love hearing the words and listening to it, and there's especially just sad, slow love songs, just like a man and his piano. Like, it's just something. It just happens inside me. And I know I'm not a great singer. I'll never be a famous singer. In fact, I've had people pay me to stop singing. But there's just something that feels so good about just belting out your favorite song at the top of your lungs. And so yeah, even though I love like soft and sad, slow love songs, like, those are definitely my favorites. the stuff that most people are like, oh, I can't listen to that because it makes me cry. I'm like, that's pretty much the only thing I listen to on a regular basis. And then if I'm in the mood for it, we'll throw all this other stuff in here too. But I'll listen to just about anything once. There are so many artists where, like, I've heard one song of theirs and that's it. Like, I didn't even know that I listened to ska, which is apparently a genre. Someone was talking about it, and they're like, I had never even heard of that. And then they're like, well, let's see, some of the famous ones. There's this band, and I'm like, oh, I like one. I heard like the song from them called blah blah blah. They're like, what? There's blah blah. Oh, I think I've heard like 2 or 3 of their songs. And then there's blah blah, and I'm like, oh, I think I know one of theirs. Didn't they do something called blah blah? And they're like, yeah, it was a big hit. And I'm like, yeah. So, like, I listen to just about everything except for really new music, because in all honesty, I stopped listening to the radio in 2009. And I remember clearly why. It's specifically because of Kesha. I remember the first time I ever heard TikTok start playing. It's like, wake up in the morning, nope. And I just turned it off, never looked back. And then, like, I don't know, just most of the today's modern artist music has just changed so much. It's become something that I don't know, I just can't be part of that world. It just doesn't reach me the same way that these have. Like, I don't really like, Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Drake, basically anyone who signed a record deal after 2007. Like, I probably don't listen to them. I only hear the radio if I'm in someone's car and they feel like turning it on, or like if I'm in, like I actually worked at my college radio station for like 2 years. Well, I was a part-time volunteer just when I had downtime, but that was mostly AAA stuff anyways, and it was all just background noise. I barely paid attention. But yeah, it's just, in general, like, I'll usually try to give anything a chance once, but for the most part, it's like old school. Like, what I like 80s, 90s, like that kind of stuff. I would say, if I had to be specific, my favorite era for music is like 96 to 2006. Just like those 10 years, that's when I was the most actively, like, my radio is on. It is always on. And if I am home, the radio is on, and it's just like, whether I'm asleep or I'm playing a video game, reading a book, watching TV, watching porn on the internet, whatever the fuck I'm doing, that radio is just on. So, like, and I was just always looking forward to what came next. And then, I don't know, somewhere along the way, it just, like, I still feel like I have the same passion, but just the music that I had passion for kind of died away and left away for something completely new and different that I just couldn't get on board with. But at the same time, and that's also part of the reason why I used to write music. I haven't done it as much anymore, but I used to love writing music, and it's something I started a while ago, and I'm actually trying to get back into it because I saw Straight Outta Compton in theaters, and I was sitting there, that scene where, like, Ice Cube is on the bus and he's like scribbling out some rhymes, and I'm like, I remember that feeling of just sitting there with just a notepad and just a pen and just writing a bunch of words, and I remember that used to feel so good. So I'm trying to get back into it in between all the other stuff that I'm doing in my life, and just, but like, it's something I used to want to think about being a songwriter, but it's not something that I'm seriously chasing after, because would it be fun to get paid for the music that I wrote? Sure, that would be awesome, but it's not something I care enough about that I want to pursue it actively. Actually, maybe because I care too much about it. Music has always been something so very personal to me, something so specifically mine, and it's just, like, it means too much to me for me to mix music in there with it, because I'm like I don't want to end up in a situation where it's like, oh, this is the song that I wrote, and this is what it's supposed to mean, but they're like, oh, let's do this, and then let's do this, and then we'll have Kesha feature on the third verse, and we're like, hell no, not gonna happen, no. I don't know, so, like, but I would still enjoy it if I was able to share my music with other people, but I don't in general, just because, like, my voice sucks. Like, I mean, I know I've taken singing lessons before, and I kind of understand the basis of it all, but you can't, but you have to have a base talent level to you can only improve yourself so much from completely horrible to barely listenable. You have to have a base talent level, which I do not have. I don't have a naturally good voice, and so I'll never be a professional singer. And like it'll be hard to get people to want to hear my music if I'm the one singing it. But I don't know a lot of people who are interested in singing the type of songs that I've written, or either. And I'm still learning more about producing. Like I don't, because I'm mostly just a lyricist. But yeah, at some point in time, it's something on my list of things that I want to do. Like I would love it if some of my favorite songs could be out in the world to be enjoyed by other people. Maybe a song, maybe someone will hear a song that I wrote, and it'll impact them the same way that some of the ones I grew up listening to have impacted me. And I have so many strong memories of some of my favorite songs. Like, there are ones that just stick to me. Like, I remember the first song I was ever really proud of. Because I remember the first song I wrote was like April, I want to say 8th, because I've only had one girlfriend in my life, and we were like girlfriend and boyfriend. We were dating. It was just like, we was freshman year of high school. We didn't really do much. We walked each other to class. We made out during lunch. That was basically it. Sometimes we talked on the phone, and then we broke up. She actually dumped me on April 1st, which is just a bad time to break up with somebody. And that's also part of the reason why April 1st, I just in general don't leave my house anymore. But anyways, she dumps me on April 1st, and then like a week later, I see her just, in the courtyard making out with some guy who looks like Fred Dukes. And then I just remember, like, I went home and I watched like a new episode of Reba, and like, her band, like she was in a band or something, and they were doing a gig, and I'm like, I could probably write music. Like, if I could write music, I can impress some girls. And so I wrote like a bunch of songs, most of which sucked and have been thrown out. But then it was around, I want to say November, maybe December, like 2005. It was the first song I ever wrote that I was ever really proud of. Was like, it's called Still Missing You. Even though you're gone, I still see you. Every time I close my eyes and with everything I do. I don't know that much, but I know this is true. You may not know it, but I'm still missing you. And that was the first time that I ever looked at a song and I was like, wow, this is good enough to be played on the radio. And I showed it to other people and they're like, oh my God, this is beautiful, I love it. And I think that's honestly the first time in my life that I was ever like really proud of myself, because it was something new and I didn't really take it seriously, and I was just trying to like figure stuff out. I'm just trying to work things out in my head, and then suddenly this is what comes out, and it's very beautiful, and I loved it and other people loved it, and it's like, wow, could I do this professionally? And so like just for years on end, basically starting from then, late 2005, all the way till like 2011, I was just regularly writing one song after another. Like, I refused to go an entire day without just sitting there with a pen and paper writing. Like, it was something I was seriously dedicated to, but then like, it just kind of hit the back burner, and there are times when I miss it, but like right now, there are other things that I'm just more focused on. But I still remember most of my favorite songs that I've written. Like, there's this one song called From Far Away, which I wrote in 2009, which I was actually in LA at the time, and I was taking a bus ride back to Texas, and there was like a 26-hour bus ride where I just couldn't sleep. The seats just weren't comfortable. I saw the sunrise and the sunset and stuff, and it's just, I don't know, I was thinking about how a lot of my favorite songs, there are so many artists like that have songs with the word far away in the title, like Nickelback, Stained, Rod Stewart. There are a lot of songs that I love with the words far away in the title, and I was like, I want to do a song with the word far away in the title. And so I wrote a song called From Far Away, which is about a girl I had a crush on in high school. At that point in time, I hadn't seen her in 2 years, but I hadn't talked to her in 3 years. And so this was just a song about like her, because there were still times when I thought about her at times, even though technically I moved on with my life. I know we're not gonna be together, but there are still times where I think, well, damn, like she's still an amazing person. Like I wish you would have feelings for me. And so that's how I ended up writing this song, which is still like one of my two. It's in top two. Like it's usually between that and Call My Name. Like those two are usually just fighting for my favorite the whole time. And that one's like, I can't remember a time when you weren't always on my mind, and now I stay awake at night dreaming of you and your perfect smile. But I never thought we were meant to be. I have never been so delusional, but I still think about you every single day. I'm still so in love with you from far away. I don't know if you heard my voice cracking. My throat's a little dry. I should have had a bottle of water next to me. My mistake. But anyways, yeah, that's one of my favorite songs. It's just like, in my head I'm hearing that and it's just like a man and his piano just sitting there playing. Like I know some of my favorites growing up have always been like, there's Elton John, Peabo Bryson, Richard Marx, Usher. There's also a lot of like Backstreet Boys. Love a lot of their music, Boyz II Men, and so a lot of stuff I write is heavily influenced by some of them. Like somewhat trying to emulate like their style and like the type of songs they do. Like Richard Marx, nobody does a sad love song like Richard Marx. Do you remember Richard Marx? Oceans apart, day after day, as I slowly go insane, I hear your voice on the line, but it doesn't stop the pain. And not just the stuff he wrote for himself, but stuff that he wrote for other people. In case you didn't know, or in case you knew but forgot, Richard Marx is the one that wrote This I Promise You, the really famous NSYNC song. And I will take you in my arms and hold you right where you belong. That was Richard Marx. He also did like Dance with My Father Again with Luther Vandross. One of my favorites is also She Daisy, Still Holding Out for You. He wrote that one as well. So, doesn't everybody out there know to never come round? Some things a heart won't listen to. I'm still holding out for you. Richard Marx is honestly my idol. Like, if I could be somebody, if I could just be one other human being, Richard Marx. Like him. Like, he's one of the few people that I would honestly just fangirl over. Like, oh my god, it's him, it's Richard Marx, please let me suck your dick. Ah! Like, I'm not even lying to you. Like, I hope I never meet Richard Marx because I know I would make a complete fucking fool of myself. But yeah, those are a lot of my influences. Like I said, like late 90s late 90s, early 2000s, that whole boy band scene. I do love a lot of their music. I love male harmonies. I'm not sure what it is. And definitely like 80s soul, and there was this whole transitional period in the early 90s, which like you see it going from like that soul to the boy band, like especially with, cause that's when Boyz II Men was big. Late 80s, early 90s, that's when they kind of made that transition. I think was End of the Road, that was out in 88, right? And then I'll Make Love to You and stuff like that. So that was a big period in time for me. And I think a lot of my stuff reflects like a lot of those styles. But I also do experiment. Like I've gone into a lot of different genres. I've dabbled in some rock stuff. I've done some pop stuff. I've done a lot of alternative genres and stuff. But for the most part, like all of my favorite songs are the ones that are just like sad, slow, just very melodic, very smooth, and just easy flowing type things. That's my favorite thing to write. But just like I've tried a little bit of everything. Like I honestly have some like tried to get into some more like hardcore like stuff, but like some of the heavier things. I can't do like straight metal because I feel like that's very instrumental heavy stuff, and like I just can't get into that. But like some of the heavier, I've gotten into some little. I've dabbled in it. And none of it was good, but I've dabbled in it. But yeah, just in general, man, piano, like that's my favorite genre. But and yeah, and just at some point in time, I would love it to just be out there to share with the world. But it's not. It's something that's on my bucket list, but it's not necessarily a huge deal for me. It's just one of those like, yeah, it would be great if this happened, but like that's not the point. Like it's the point was just to make me feel better, to make my life easier, which it did. Like it all, I've already accomplished all my goals that I set out to do, as far as music is concerned. Like for me, like the music period of my life is over, and I'm focusing on everything else. But it is still something that holds a very, very special place in my heart.